The Boy and the Bird, written by Jake Beyer. Scene 1. A father and a son sit fireside within a wooden cabin. The father reads a book, and the camera becomes caught in the attention of a young boy who listens to the book while his eyes are mesmerized by the magic of the fire. The boy walks on a trail with his father, and they hold baseball gloves in their hands. They spot a caterpillar struggling to get across the road. His father lets it crawl on his hand and lifts it across the road. His son watches. The boy and his father play a game of catch, surrounded by the mountains. Scene 2. In the middle of a remote part of Colorado, we see a cabin in the woods. We enter inside of the cabin to reveal Liam, who sits at his desk and writes. He looks out the window. He watches the trees move with the wind. We see a photo of him and his father on the table. We enter into a short montage of Liam in nature. He hikes lethargically through a forest that winds through mountains. Liam sits on his back in the grass, looking up at the clouds. He reaches out towards them, drawing their shapes with his finger, and smirks lightly. He turns to his left and then back up. His happy expression turns to one of lost interest. He puts his hands back down by his sides and sifts the grass through his hands. Scene 3. Liam hikes in the forest, searching the ground for animals. He finds some. He opens up a bag of homemade jerky. He begins to break it off and feeds a small group of chipmunks. They chirp noises of joy, and Liam shares in it. Liam walks up to a flower in his garden. He stops and stares at it, noticing the way the leaves coil around the bud, and the hue of pink contrasts with the vibrant shade of yellow within the center.
Most people would call you a weed.
Liam begins to pour his water canteen onto the flower.
You're far from one.
Liam raises and takes visual note of more small flowers beginning to sprout all around his garden. Liam sits on the foot of his bed. He holds in his hand the photo of him and his dad.
Maybe it's time to let it all go, Pops. Maybe it's time I let you go.
He puts the photo in a backpack and closes it up. Scene 4. The night sky revolves around the tall pines in the Colorado wilderness. Time passes. Liam hikes through the moonlit forest. He stands at the foot of an overlook with a hiking backpack on. He onlooks to a small town in the valley. We can see lights moving around, life flourishing within the vast, dark space of the wilderness, and we enter a flashback. Liam's father comes into his bedroom to wake him up.
Time to get up, buddy.
He pats him down, but Liam pretends to still be asleep.
You must think I was born yesterday. But hey, if you don't want Pop's famous grilled cheese, I get it.
Liam opens up an eye. Scene 5. Liam eats a grilled cheese at his kitchen table. His father enters with his work briefcase in his hands.
Time for me to get to work, buddy. Don't forget to lock up after you leave.
His father stands at the doorway.
Hey, Liam, I was thinking maybe this Friday we call school and tell them you're sick and head up to the cabin. What do you think?
Liam nods his head and continues eating his grilled cheese through a large smile.
I figured so.
Liam's father gets out his car keys and begins walking towards his car that's parked on the road. There is someone in a sketchy hooded outfit that stands at the end of the street who begins to approach towards Liam's father. He notices him, and the man begins to run towards Liam's dad.
Hey, what you...
The man tackles him.
Keys, man, give me the keys.
Get the hell off me!
Liam's father punches the man straight in the face and kicks him off. Liam's father gets up, but the man has already pulled a gun out. Liam, inside the house, has moved to the window, brought to it by the noise. He still wears his pajamas and holds a grilled cheese in his hand. Liam's father looks towards the window and sees Liam in it, looking at him. He turns back to the hooded man.
I'll give you whatever you want. Please, I have a son.
The hooded man pulls the trigger. Blood splatters on the ground. Everything begins playing in half speed as orchestral music fades in. The hooded man grabs the keys and drives away with the car. Liam runs out of his house, screaming. The neighbors come out of their houses and call the police. The flashback ends. Liam stands, as shook as ever, reliving this nightmare memory triggered by the sight of the town.
No, fuck that. Fuck that.
He then walks back to his cabin, alone. Liam sits by the fireplace, reading the same book his father used to read to him when he was a kid. He reads aloud, taking heavy breaths and letting out tears and laughs in utmost confusion and unbearable guilt. He screams into the book, the night, and the universe all at once. Scene 6. Silence. Wind between the trees. The sun rises on Liam's cabin. The sky glows with hues of gold and rose. Birds chirp between the trees, healthy and lively. We see a small wounded bird lying on the floor of the porch to the cabin, struggling to keep its head up. Liam carefully picks it up. He holds it in his hand. The bird makes a crying noise.
Shh, I got you.
He brings the bird inside the cabin to his fireside table and lays him down. He gathers a bowl and some stuffing to provide a bed for him. He carefully brings the bird into his new bed.
Don't worry. I'll take care of you, buddy.
He takes the cap off of a tomato paste jar and fills it with water. He brings it to the bird. The bird begins to drink from it.
Now, what do you eat?
He breaks his jerky into very small pieces and then offers one to the bird. The bird turns its nose up to it.
That's a new one.
He leaves the cabin and goes out to grab a couple of berries from his garden. He brings them back in and begins to feed the bird. He likes the berries. The sun rises and sets. Liam heads out every day to find more berries to feed his newfound friend. He comes back to the fireside every day to feed him and make sure he's getting enough water. The bird begins to flutter his wings.
Attaboy.
We get a close-up of the bird flying over the trees through the morning sunlight, gracefully moving between them, now fully recovered. Liam is beneath, on his daily hike. They travel through mountain passes and through the valleys. Liam sits in the grass in the valley, and the bird lands next to him.
It's so beautiful here, isn't it? Feels like a dream.
They admire the mountains, and he is once again filled with the childhood wonder of when he first laid his eyes on the vast pass. He then sees some storm clouds in the distance. He looks at the bird.
I'm sure you wouldn't want wet wings?
The bird chirps. Scene 7. A storm plays an ensemble above the cabin in the forest. Lightning strikes. Liam sits on his bed and uses a nightlight to do some writing. The occasional lightning strike ignites the room. A knock on the door is heard through the rainfall. He stops writing and looks at the door. Another knock is heard and a faint hello. He turns his nightlight off, gets up slowly, and opens the door cautiously. A stranger stands in the doorway, soaked from the storm. Hey, I was out here backpacking and, going to be honest, I checked the forecasts. I didn't expect this kind of a storm. I was just hoping to seek a warm shelter, only for the night. I promise. Liam doesn't immediately agree to let him stay, but eventually stands back from the door and lets him in.
You can sleep by the fire. I'll grab some blankets.
Thank you. The stranger puts his backpack down, gets his sleeping bag out, and Liam grabs some blankets. The bird chirps. Liam hands him the blankets. Thank you, thank you.
I'll be over there if you need anything.
Liam walks back over to his bed, turns his nightlight back on, and starts writing again. Is this your cabin? This your cabin? Liam nods his head. It's really nice, very cozy. Liam continues writing without looking up. So are you from around here? Liam points.
Yes, I'm originally from Kremling.
Oh, Kremling. Nice. I'm very familiar with it. Do you like it there?
I prefer to be here.
But you're kind of in the middle of nowhere here. So do you live with anyone? It must be quite lonely. Liam looks up from his writing.
No, I prefer to be by myself. Much more peaceful that way.
The stranger gets the memo. Liam goes back to writing, but he realizes that he was being slightly mean to this person who did nothing to deserve it. We see a face of small regret. The stranger cozies up with the blankets and goes to bed. Liam clears the lump of guilt in his throat.
Let me know if you need another pillow. I have an extra one here if you need it.
No, I'm good, thank you. The stranger notices the children's book laying down next to the fire, and he looks at it with sad, squinted eyes. He falls asleep. Scene 8. Fork taps, eggs, black coffee. The stranger and Liam have breakfast together. The stranger notices there's some work that needs to be done on Liam's cabin. You know, I could help you with that.
You offering?
It's the least I can do. Just let me run into town and stay another couple nights. Liam forks his eggs and waits to give his approval.
Be my guest.
The stranger arrives back the next day with wooden tools. Liam lets him in. He begins to slat in wood to the cabin. Liam sips some tea and writes at his desk. You ever been to Wyoming?
No, I want to, but never been.
Yeah, that's where I want to build my dream cabin. It's beautiful up there. Somewhere out near Jackson Hole if I can find the right spot. The stranger draws lines to make sure the wood will fit in flush to the cabin's ceiling.
So, you do a lot of backpacking?
I do. You know, sometimes I just get tired of everyone and need a break to get re-grounded. You know what I mean?
I do.
The stranger hits in a nail. You mostly stick to Colorado?
Yeah, I don't do much travel. I like to stay here and take care of the cabin. It's my dad's cabin. We used to do a lot of fishing up by here. You know, go sit in the valley, watch the clouds move around and play catch, all the good stuff.
That sounds amazing. You still fish with him? Liam stares at the photo on his desk.
No, he's passed away.
The stranger turns around from his work and gives Liam a nod. Well, my mom used to say, be happy for the memories you have, not the ones you didn't get to make. He sounds like he was a great father.
He was.
The stranger works on the top of the cabin now, repatching up some slats. Liam leaves the cabin with the bird and makes his way into the woods. Should be finished up with this today?
Perfect. I'll be back by dusk.
He stops.
I never caught your name.
Aaron. Liam turns around and nods.
All right, Aaron.
He then goes back on his trail. I never caught your name. Liam stops and turns around.
Liam.
The stranger nods and smiles. Liam arrives to a river between the pines. He cups water from a shallow part of it in his hands, and we enter into a flashback. A young Liam is fly fishing with his dad. He takes a cast downstream. There is no bite. He throws his rod into the river and then walks towards the bank and sulks on a rock. Liam's father picks up the rod from the bottom of the river. He then goes over to the rock Liam is sitting on and sits next to him. There's a pause between them.
You might stand out here and cast 40, 50 times, and you might not ever get that bite on the other end. That's part of the game. But if you keep casting, you'll get one. I promise you.
Liam's father puts his arm around Liam and rubs his cheek.
Listen, just because you haven't gotten a bite yet doesn't mean you won't get one.
Liam looks up to his dad.
But what if I'm not good enough? What if I don't catch one? Won't you be mad?
Never. Listen, I don't take you out here to catch a fish. I take you out here because you're my son, and you'll always be good enough for me.
The flashback ends. Liam's eyes water. He remembers the lesson his father taught him. He takes out a necklace from around his neck with the picture attached, takes one last look, and puts it into the river.
I love you, Dad. I always will. I hope I can live to see the day I get one more bite.
He kisses the photo and lets it sink to the bottom of the river. The moment has passed. He gets up, checks the sky, and realizes it's dusk. He also begins to realize he might have that bite. He runs back to the cabin, and the bird follows. There is no sign of Aaron. He opens the door and finds Aaron has left, but he sees a letter on the table. Had to get back home. Thank you so much for letting me stay. I'd like to return the favor and invite you to dinner in my house. I know you don't venture to town, but I hope to see you soon. 1505 Bark Tree Road. Liam puts the letter down on the table. He goes over to his bird.
I think it's time for you to go too. You can take care of yourself now.
He opens the door and signals for the bird to go. He flies away into the forest. Aaron makes his family wait to eat, thinking his friend will show up.
It's already nearly 7:30. I don't think he's coming, honey.
Aaron exhales. Then a knock is heard at the door. I think that's him. Aaron opens up the door. Liam stands outside of his house, soaked from rain. They pause for a moment.
So are you going to let me out of the rain?
Aaron laughs. Of course. Aaron closes the door behind them. The end.